Hi all, welcome to my channel GCP Data Engineering. So I would like to inform you. So I'm going to start or upload series of videos on Google Cloud BigQuery, right? So as part of this series, right, I'm going to cover each and every concept. I mean all possible concepts, starting from the very basic to medium complex to complex, right? So if you see my earlier videos where I try to cover very important concepts and try to demo uh, few important use cases, right? In the case of data flow and in case of data path. But as part of this video series, I would like to cover almost all basic use cases, including simple, medium, and complex. I'll try to cover as much concepts as possible. Okay, so right, as part of this video, so it's an introductory video on BigQuery where I try to give some introduction about the BigQuery. I think most of the people who are very familiar with Google Cloud Platform, they might have already worked or they might have already have some idea on BigQuery, right? So I'll try to cover some introduction and some concepts. Then as part of this demo, we'll try to create datasets and tables using different options available, right? Okay, let's quickly move on to the next slide. So first of all, what is BigQuery, right? So as per the Google Cloud documentation, they say it's a fully managed petabyte scale and cost effective analytics data warehouse, right? So for our understanding, it's a simple data warehouse, right, available on Google Cloud Platform. Okay, so and you can store huge amount of data, right, petabyte scale data, right, and you can interact with the BigQuery using SQL. This is very cool, right? So like you must, most of the people they might have experience working with different relational databases like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, right? So like that you can interact with BigQuery using standard SQL, right? So you can even perform analytics over a large amount of data, right? It can be batch analytics or it can be a near real-time analytics because BigQuery supports streaming insertion of the data. So once it is available, immediately you can perform real-time analytics, right, using SQL. Okay, so that's where I mentioned supports batch and streaming nodes. And one of the important thing, let's try to understand this particular word, fully managed. What do you mean by that? Means so you are not bothered about behind infrastructure or background infrastructure which are being used as part of your BigQuery, right? You are not bothered about, you are not going to maintain any infrastructure, right? Google Cloud will do behalf of a user, right? So you will be fully concentrating on your logic to analyze the data, right? You're not bothered about managing the behind infrastructure of BigQuery, right? So this is one of the important concept, right? So it also supports structured and semi-structured data. You can load tabular form data, whichever is clearly represented with some schema. You can load the data into BigQuery, and also semi-structured like JSON, right? It will support JSON data to be loaded into BigQuery, right? Yeah. Then why BigQuery? Because see, if you see my previous slide, I'll try to cover few of the concepts are overlapped. So I will be discussing these concepts repeatedly, right? So just this is because I mean, as we discuss, right, multiple times, right, so we will be clarified with more and more queries, and we will be very much clear with the concepts as well, right? That's where I try to cover few of the concepts. I'll try to discuss few of the concepts repeatedly, right? Serverless and auto scalable, this is again repeated concept. Serverless means you are not maintaining any infrastructure, right, for your workload. Auto scalable, based on your workload, right, BigQuery in the background it will just scale up it infrastructure automatically. You're not doing anything at all, right? That means you can process, you can load any amount of data, right? And you can run blazing fast SQL queries. That means since it is a petabyte scale data, you can try to query millions or billions of rows, right? So it will just respond within few seconds, and you can perform real-time analytics. We have that. BigQuery has that capability. Okay. So as I already told, you will be just concentrating on that analyzing data to get meaningful insights. No administration is required. Okay. And you can share the data, right, or data sets or queries within the organization, right? There are different options available to do that. So I'll be uploading multiple videos, and each and every concept I've been discussing here, right, in near future. Okay. And this is one of the important feature available with the BigQuery. You can operationalize machine learning models using SQL, because most of the people, right, whoever is working with the data warehouses or databases, they are very much familiar with SQL, right? Few of the people might not have knowledge about other programming languages like Python, Java, or Go, something, right? So Python has very rich libraries to uh, create and test and deploy, right, machine learning models. But so SQL doesn't, right? But BigQuery has that capability where you can use SQL queries to build machine learning models, right? So this is very cool feature available, and this is common feature available across different services. So data encryption by default at rest, right? And it has efficient access control mechanism through IAM, identity and access management. And it has, they are just, I mean, BigQuery is supporting two pricing models, flexible, and it is flexible. So those two pricing models are on demand and flat rate. Based on your workloads, it is up to you to opt for one of this pricing model, right? Flat rate is a based on month or something. They will just charge, right, some fixed amount, right? On demand, based on your workload, you can just use it, and based on your usage, you can pay that cost, right? These are the two pricing models available, right? So how to access BigQuery, right? This is one of the important things to be known before going further, right? So definitely you need to have required permissions to access BigQuery. That can be done through IAM, identity and access management. So here my intention is to, since it is an introductory video, I don't want to discuss more details about what are the different roles available and based on which job role you can grant which permission and so. So in upcoming videos, I would like to do that, right, as an individual video. But here I will try to explain what are the different roles available, and just try to understand, right? Before going to that, so try to understand this organization hierarchy, right? So if you go to a Google Cloud platform, so that entire thing, right, before you are uh, provisioning your infrastructure, whether it can be a BigQuery, whether it can be a data flow, whether it can be any other service, so you should follow this hierarchy, right? First of all, if this is a hierarchy, at the top level, organization is the top level entity, and the next level is a project. So one organization can have multiple projects. So one project can have different services, GCP services like BigQuery, Dataflow, and one BigQuery can have different datasets, and one dataset can have multiple tables. This is a hierarchy, and try to understand the role granted on each of this entity. For example, a role granted at organization level, right, will be inherited by its next level child, that is project. Whatever the role granted at project level can be inherited by BigQuery. Whatever the role granted at BigQuery can be inherited by dataset. So it is like that, right? That means, so you, whatever the role you are granting at organization level will be overwriting roles granted at project level. So before granting roles, you should be very careful, right? So actually granting role and permission, they work based on a concept called least privilege policy. That means based on the role of a person, so what job is doing within the organization. So based on his requirement, we need to grant the role accordingly. So we can't grant excess roles, right? We should grant whatever the roles required by the job, right? This is very important concept. So now see, so we have a primitive roles at project level: viewer, editor, owner. These are self-explanatory thing where viewer will have only reading capability, editor can edit, right, resources or something at project level, and owner will have all the power to do anything. Similarly, at BigQuery level, we have a data viewer role, data editor, data owner role, where viewer will have only viewer, editor will have some other additional roles where you can edit the data, right? Owner will have, it's a combination of viewer plus edit. Okay, so these are the some important roles, and this is some basic understanding, right? Then how to interact with the BigQuery. Once you have the enough roles, required roles available to user, your user ID, and also try to understand one more concept. So these roles can be granted at a individual level or else at group. So either you can have a individual G Suite account, you can grant this role, or else you have the some G Suite account and you can add that G Suite account into some group and you can grant the role to that group. Right? These are the two ways you will be granting IAM roles. Right? This is also one of the important ones. Right? Now we have enough roles or permission to access BigQuery. Now how to interact with the BigQuery? What are the different options available? Right? We'll try to examine. One is web console, a query editor, that is GCP console, and another one is command line. Right? To PowerShell, you can, there is a tool called BQ, command line tool. By using this BQ command, you can try to query the data from BigQuery. You can try to insert or you can try to delete. So whatever the things we will perform or we are capable of performing using query editor, you can perform using BQ tool as well, right? And API client libraries. This is one of the important thing, right? Actually, in real-time project implementation, we will be using this option where you will try to access BigQuery programmatically using BigQuery API. So this API is available in different programming languages, right? Java, Python, Go, etc. So I've just mentioned, I mean, few important programming languages over here, right? So these are the three ways you can interact with the BigQuery: web console, command line, and API client libraries. It's a programmatical access, right? I hope you understand this concept. Let's move on to the next slide. So this is extension to the previous slide. What you can perform, right, using this API client libraries, right? So as I already told, whatever you can perform using editor or PQ tool, you can perform the same things or same task using API client libraries as well, right? I just mentioned only few programming languages which are widely used like Python, Java, Go, Node, right, Node.js, and Ruby, right? So we have other languages also. Okay, so you can even query the data, you can load the data, you can export the data, right, using these API client libraries. Okay, now let's try to understand, right? If you just try to understand the complete this data processing or data analytics space, right, where this BigQuery suits or fits, right? For example, let's say if you have to implement a data warehouse on GCP platform, definitely BigQuery is the service, right, where you can store the data for analytical purpose, right? So you can extract the data from different sources. Different sources can be anything, right? So the sources can be available on the Google Cloud platform itself, or else other platforms, cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, or else let's say it can be a on-prem databases, on-prem data warehouses, right? You can extract the data. It can be in any form, right? The flat files, CSV files, or something, or any format, right? You can transform the data, extract and transform. This transform can be done using data flow, using data prop, or any other ETL tool, right? And you can load the data into BigQuery. Once data is available in the BigQuery, you can perform analytics using SQL, right? And also you can visualize the data using different tools available. So in the GCP platform, we have this Data Studio. It's a free to use actually. Once the data is available in BigQuery, you can perform visualization using Data Studio. And also you can use third-party tools like Tableau, right? We have BigQuery connectors available for different other visualization tools. So this is where BigQuery fits right into data analytics space, right? Now we'll move on to the demo, right? So here I'm going to perform these steps, right? I'll try to create dataset and table, right, in one go using different options, right? First, what I'll do, first I'll try to create dataset, and then I'll try to create table as into that dataset using BigQuery Editor or GCP console, using DDL scripts, SQL, and also command line tool, and also BigQuery API client libraries. We'll try to examine the datasets and tables created, right? We'll try to understand few more concepts, right? So I'm going to create only empty tables as part of this demo. In the next demo, I will try to show how to load data into BigQuery using different options. Okay. Now let's move on to demo. Okay. So I'm into my GCP console, right? So right now you can see there is one dataset available. This is BigQuery Editor. You see, this is BigQuery Editor. There are different options available running your queries, right? So I'll try to do more videos on each and every concept wherever it is possible, right? Now click on your project, click on create dataset. This is one option using GCP console, right? So dataset demo console, right? You need to select your data location as well, right? I will select my nearest, right? And here we have an option where default table expiry, right? If you go for it, you have to specify number of days, right? That means after 10 days, what are the tables as part of this dataset will be expired, right? So this is to save some cost, and there are other advantages by using this option. I don't want to discuss uh, more details over here. Just concentrate on how to create datasets, right? So it's a project name, dataset name, and the data location. Okay. So I don't want to select this option for now. Create dataset. Okay. Now you can see dataset demo is create. Go to see, you can see this dataset is created. Click on this, it will give you the details dataset information, right? So in the same way, now we'll try to create table into this dataset. Here there is an option create table. Go here, so select empty table, right? There are many other options available, but for now just concentrate on this option. Empty table means we are not loading any data into that. Okay, this is the project, right? This is the dataset. Okay, table name is something like, or else demo BigQuery console, right? Here you need to select the schema, right? Here there are two options available: edit as a text or add field. So if you click on this option, you need to provide, right, teacher. This is the key value pair. You have to provide the column name and the data type in the form of key value pair, right? This is one way, right? And other way is just define fields at individual level, right? Now name, id, and something like that. The mode also nullable or required. If you specify, if you opt for required, you need to, while inserting data into BigQuery table, you need to make sure that there should not be any null values coming up in this column, right? So this is other way, right? Now come down, so you can go for partition. I don't want to discuss this advanced option at this moment. So this is the basic things you need to specify or define while creating the table. Now click on create table, right? You can see now table is created. You can check for the schema here, details like when it has been created, table size, and you can preview the table also. If you have some data available in the table, you can preview that data, right? This is one way, that is Google Console way to create table. The next step is we'll try to create table using sequels, that is TDLs, table and dataset. In the first step, we'll try to create dataset using SQL, right? So we have this query editor, Bigquery Editor, right? So select this, right? Run this command. So it will create one dataset in. This is a mandatory option you have to select. You have to definitely specify location, Asia South 2, right? So now you can see there is one more dataset has been created in Asia South 2 region, right? So I don't have any table. Now what you can do, you can try to create the table as part of that dataset. Okay. So I'm just overwriting here. Whoever is very much familiar with the SQL DDL statements, they already know it, how to do it, right? So it's a column name, data type. These are the different options, because whatever the options you have over the GCP console, like expiration timestamp, if you want this table to be expired on this specific timestamp, you can mention that, and you can also give the description. There are many other options available if you go to the documentation, right? This is to show the option. I just mention these two options over here. Now create this table, right? What you can do, click on run, it will create this table as part of this dataset. Now click on here, it is the schema, details, preview. Right now you don't have any data, that's why you don't see anything over there. This is the schema. All right, now we'll go for the next option, right? Okay, now next option is using command line interface. So as I already told, we use BQ command line tool. This has been written in Python, right? So by using this tool, you can interact with the BigQuery. Like you can query the data, you can create the data set, you can create the table, you can load the data, right? So on and so forth. Right now, I'm trying to create data set using my command line BQ tool. Right now, authorize. Here also I've given few options where table expiration, it is in milliseconds, I guess, right? And description, right? You can see this dataset has been successfully created. If you go to your BigQuery, right, window, right, just try to refresh. Now you can see this is the dataset which we have created using CLI. Now we don't have any table, right? We'll try to create the table using BQ. So BQ yum key, right? Here also we are this is the command which we are using for creating dataset and also as well table. BQMK, if you specify dataset, you are going to create dataset. If you specify table, you are going to create table, right? Now you are just passing your schema information in key value pair, right? Now run this command. Now it will create table into above dataset. Right, this dataset. Okay, now it says table has been created. Now go to you have to refresh again. This is the one. See, this is the table created using CLI details preview, right? So the last option we have using programming approach, right? That is API client libraries. I'm using Python, right? In most my previous demos have been using Python, so I'll use Python, right, as part of this demo as well. So this is a code to create dataset. The same code I'm also trying to create the table as part of this dataset. Simple thing, we'll try to construct a BigQuery client, right, from this API, right? This is a client available, right, in the BigQuery API. Try to construct the client, and then we'll create this dataset, right, using create dataset method, right, or class. Okay, once this is created, immediately we are trying to create this table. We are using this schema, so we are specifying each and every field and its data type, and also the mode, whether it's nullable or not nullable, right? Then we are creating using create table. Okay, so if I run this, right, then it will create dataset and also table as part of that dataset. Let me quickly run that Python script, right? So this is a script, right? So it will create the dataset first and then the table, right? So created dataset and also table as part of that demo. Let's go to the BigQuery and try to examine these two. Okay, see, it's API, okay, and the table schema details preview. See, if you see, I've created different datasets using different options, right? If I'm creating dataset with API, I just right, you can see this differentiation, right, underscore API at the end of the dataset name. If it is a BQ command line tool, it's underscore BQ. You can see that the table name is same in each and every dataset, right? So this is how you can create datasets and tables using different options available, like console or DDLs using SQL, right, or command line tool, BQ command line tool, and also Python client libraries, right? So in our next demo, we'll try to load data using different options available into the same table which we have created, right? Okay, okay guys, thank you very much. We'll try to meet in the next video.